When you think of Roman gladiators, what comes to mind? Probably the Colosseum, right? Brutal fights, cheering crowds, but what if I told you that was just the surface? That these bloody spectacles were actually one of the smartest, most sophisticated political tools ever invented? Well, that's what we're diving into today. So let's just jump right in with a puzzle. Why on earth would Julius Caesar, this super pragmatic, no-nonsense general, have his gladiators fight in solid silver armor? I mean, it's flashy, it's expensive. The answer has nothing to do with fighting and everything to do with pure political showmanship.
And that silver armor, it really gets to the heart of our first big idea. The gladiatorial games, they were never just about sports. Especially back in the day, during the super chaotic late Roman Republic, the arena was the place where political ambition was put on full display.
You see, back in Rome, if you wanted to get ahead in politics, you couldn't just give a few good speeches. No, you had to put on a show. And the bigger, the more spectacular the games, the more the public loved you. And that love, it translated directly into votes. Caesar got this. He borrowed a massive fortune to stage his games because he knew that the shine from that silver armor, glinting under the Roman sun, people would remember that. They'd remember it long after the blood was washed away.
Yeah, exactly. This quote just lays it all bare, doesn't it? It is the best way to get people to vote for you. It wasn't about civic pride or duty, it was a cold, hard calculation. It was the most effective political ad campaign you could possibly run.
So you can really think of it like a business investment, a political return on investment. Elected officials were actually required to foot the bill for these games themselves. It was a huge personal expense. But the payoff? Oh, it was massive. It got you votes, it built your brand, so to speak, and later, when the emperors took over, it became their #1 tool for keeping the huge and frankly restless population of Rome happy, or at least distracted.
And this whole strategy, this whole idea of keeping the people fed and entertained, well, you've probably heard of it. This is where we get that famous phrase, bread and circuses. It's the ultimate formula for power, and it was basically perfected in the Roman arena.
Okay, but here's where the story gets really interesting. It takes a twist. Because before the games were this massive political weapon, they actually had a totally different purpose. Something, well, almost noble. Believe it or not, this wasn't always about power grabs.
I mean, just look at the difference here. Early on, we're talking around 80 BC. The games were seen as a moral lesson. Seriously. The whole point was to teach people something about being a good Roman. But you fast forward to the empire and poof, that original idea is pretty much gone. It's all about mass entertainment and keeping a lid on things. So what was this moral lesson they were trying to teach? Well, it all centered on this one core Roman value, virtus. Now don't confuse this with our modern idea of virtue, like being kind or generous. Nah. For the Romans, virtus was all about manliness, toughness, and just absolute unwavering courage, especially when you're staring death right in the face. And who were the best teachers of virtues? The gladiators. They were literally trained to be role models. They had to learn how to die a beautiful death, to face the end with dignity, without cringing, without showing fear. The idea was that the crowd, by watching this, would learn how a true Roman was supposed to handle their own mortality. It was a citywide lesson in character.
But as we know, things changed. The Roman Republic crumbled, the empire rose up, and that whole moral lesson thing just faded away. The games changed again, this time becoming something else entirely. A really sophisticated tool for social control.
By the time you get to the Colosseum, that whole idea of teaching virtue is ancient history. The empire had a brand new, massive problem on its hands. How in the world do you control a city like Rome? We're talking over 1 million people, all packed together, who could easily riot and cause chaos. The arena, that was their answer.
The strategy they came up with was, frankly, brilliant social engineering. Some people call it the safety valve theory. Basically, the state knew the city was a pressure cooker of pent-up anger and aggression. So instead of letting that pressure explode into riots in the streets, they gave it a release. They staged these incredible but totally controlled displays of violence in the arena. And the crowd, they got to let out all that tension, all that aggression, in a place that was totally safe and approved by the government.
This quote just nails the whole crazy idea, doesn't it? The games were a mechanism for creating peace. Think about that. They were creating peace by putting on a performance of people they paid to make an art out of death. It's an incredible paradox when you stop and think about it.
So it's pretty clear, right? The gladiator games were so much more than just a bloody sport. Their whole purpose changed and evolved over the centuries to fit whatever the Roman state needed at the time.
So if you boil it all down, the games really had three different faces. They started out as this public lesson in Roman courage and virtus. Then they turned into the ultimate power-up for ambitious politicians looking to win over the people. And finally, the emperors perfected them into this finely tuned machine for keeping the peace and controlling the masses.
And that kind of leaves us with a pretty big and maybe even an unsettling question. The Romans basically turned state-sponsored violence into an art form to keep society in check. So it makes you wonder, do we have our own versions of the arena today? In our own world, what kind of mass spectacles and entertainment do we use to channel public energy, to distract, or to control? Do we have our own arenas? Definitely something to think about.